awareness from a mother's perspective. We always begin each presentations with an acknowledgement to our beloved founders, to our international centennial president, Valerie Hollingsworth Baker, to our regional Southern director, Keisha Beasley, to our East State Texas director, as well as to our chapter president, Denise Wolf Hilliard. And I am Sharon Neely. I am the Programs and Projects Coordinator, and I will be co hosting this event with Joan Payne, who is the March of Dimes Coordinator. As we begin today, I would like to share with you some disturbing facts about prematurity in this country. Every year, there has been more than 450 babies who are born premature. That's 1 in 10 babies. Those numbers are worse for African American babies who have a 1 in 6 chance of being born too soon. Locally, in the Houston Harris County area, the preterm birth rate is at a D, and that is based upon the Martyrdines Prematurity Report Card 2019. Babies who are born prematurely usually have less developed organs than full term babies and are more likely to face serious health concerns, even early signs of learning and disabilities. Prematurity can happen to anyone. We don't know why it happens in many cases. And that's why the March of Dimes is working so hard on this problem to find answers. In response to the significant rise in premature births in the past decades, 3 decades, the March of Dimes, a national voluntary health agency whose mission is to improve the health of babies by preventing birth defects and infant mortality, along with Zeta Phi Beta sorority, an international organization with chapters in over 850 communities within the United States and abroad. We have joined together in this international campaign to support research into the causes of premature birth and to educate the public and healthcare professionals about the escalating health crisis. November is Prematurity Awareness Month, and November the 17th is World Prematurity Day. Zeta Phi Beta sorority has been a proud national program partner with the March of Dimes for over 48 years. Yes, 48 years through our National Stork's Nest program. Please support World Prematurity Day on Tuesday, November the 17th. At this time, I would like to share the hosting duties with Ms. Joan Payne, who will introduce our panelists. And again, we thank you. And if you have any questions as we go throughout our program, please include that in our chat section or comment section on Facebook, and we will answer those at the end of our program. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to introduce our panelists. I'm Joan Payne, co-host. Our first panelist is Indy Delgado, Donna Green, Rosa Castillo, Demetria Preston. Indy will go first, then we'll have Rosa, Donna, and Demetria will be last. Indy.
Good afternoon. My name is Indria Delgadillo. I am a mother of a preemie. In the beginning, it was hard for myself and my husband to conceive. After we finally conceived, it was like right after my physician said that you're pregnant, I went on immediate bed rest. I was on bed rest due to hypertension. I never experienced preeclampsia, but I did experience hypertension. Um, the first, the second month of my pregnancy, I woke up and my duty was to take my blood pressure every morning. I woke up one morning and took my blood pressure. It was like 170 over 110. And my doctor told me to immediately go to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks on a low salt diet. Um, and it wasn't due to my diet that I had hypertension. It was really because of the stress of my job and worrying about getting my baby here after having a miscarriage the first time. So my baby was due April the 30th. I ended up having my baby on March the 25th. He was born 4 pounds and 9 ounces, and he had little platelet spots that showed through his skin. So of course he was in NICU. He was in NICU for like 2 weeks, and I did not get to experience the joy of being able to walk out of the hospital, my spouse and I carrying our baby in our arms. I had to leave my baby in the hospital while I came home and visited my son every day. So after we were able to bring him home. He was, by the time we picked him up, he was 5 pounds, which was awesome according to his pediatrician. And we were able to bring him home, and he has lived a healthy life ever since. He's 12 years old now, and he is truly a healthy, vibrant young man. And we're so proud of him to this day.
Thank you, Andy. Rosa?
Yes, hello. My name is Rosa Castillo, and I am the mother of two preemies. My first child was my first and eldest is Noah, and he was actually born at 32 weeks. I knew I was prone to a preterm delivery. I was going to a specialist and being monitored. I had a precaution that is called cerclage put in. This is medical. It's something that is done to prevent the preterm from the baby actually, coming sooner than the 40 weeks. But even with that, I still had him at 32 weeks. He was born at 3 pounds, 11 ounces. So he was tiny, and he actually spent 8 weeks in the hospital. So it took me 2 weeks to be able to even hold him. And that was hard. Just like Indy said, I visited him every day. I made the drive from Humble to the medical center to go see him and see how he was doing. And every day I can still think back. He's 6 years now, going on 7 years. But every day you just feel like, every little step that they make forward is helping them come home. So whether they're taking their bottle, whether, every little thing that they're monitoring, is a success for them coming home. But with that said, anything that happens can be a setback. But I felt that when I was there at the hospital, it feels like it's the end of the world. But 6 years later, almost 7 years, I can say it's not the end of the world, with the help of friends and family. He's doing great. He's going to be 7 at the end of February. So this is Noah. And then I have my other one, which is Mateo. He's actually going to be 4 at the end of this month. And Mateo was actually diagnosed with a congenital heart defect. So with all of that, just like Indy said, having that extra stress on top, and then on top knowing that he's going to be born early, I encountered the same things. He was actually in the NICU less than Noah because he was born at 36 weeks. So Noah was 32, Mateo was 36 weeks. So right away, he went into the highest level of NICU at Texas Children's Hospital because he had a heart problem. But with both of them, you know, all I can say is that with the help of God and praying on a daily basis and just keeping that positive mindset just to push through. I mean, both of them are healthy, thriving. Of course, you know, Mateo has to be monitored because he has the congenital heart defect. He's, you know, been through his full repair already. But with, you know, it can be done. It feels like it's the end of the world, but it's not.
Thank you, Rosa.
You're welcome.
Donna.
Thank you. My name is Donna Green, and I'd like to thank the committee for extending the opportunity to be on the panel today. So just a little bit to share my story. It was just after my 21st birthday, and I'm going to the doctor, normal monthly visits. And so this is December. My son was due in March. So now I'm getting down to the monthly doctor visits. And I go to the doctor. There was a bit of a language barrier between the doctor and I at that point. And I thought I heard her say, "You need to go to the emergency room. You are in labor." And I go, "No, I'm not in labor. That couldn't be what she said." So I check out and she didn't seem to be frantic. So I was calm, she was calm. She said, you know, "Oh, do you want to take an ambulance? We'll get you an ambulance to this." I said, "No, my car's outside. I'll be just fine." I go home and my mom tells me, she calls and says, "Hey, how did the doctor's appointment go?" I said, "Oh, it was fine, except I think I heard her say that in contractions and I need to go to the emergency room." So my mother right away got my brother to come over and take me to the hospital. Turns out, sure enough, I was having contractions. So this is my first baby, so I had no clue, just 21, just fresh, turning 21. And, you know, they're like, "You're having contractions and the baby's trying to come." And I go, "No, I'm not experiencing any pain. Nothing's happening. You know, you guys are panicking for no reason. It's okay, everything's fine." So they're showing me the monitor and how it's zigzagging on the chart. Say, "See those marks going up and down? Those are your contractions." So even though I didn't feel anything, I wasn't in distress. I had no pains, nothing that I expected to be contractions or onset labor was all happening. And so they gave me medication to stop the contractions and stabilize me and the baby, which was a boy. So they said, "Oh, now, you know, we've got to watch you and you've got to stay on bed rest and you're going to stay in the hospital until the baby arrives." Well, this is January. I knew the baby was due in March and I'm thinking, I can't be in the hospital for 2 months. I'm not sure what is happening. I really, being young, I think it just kind of protected me from the real danger that me and my son's life were really in. I just could not comprehend. I said, "Oh, you know, a day or two and they'll give us some medicine and we'll be fine and we'll go home." No. So for 2 weeks, I was in the hospital. They monitored me, monitored the baby. They finally said, "We need to take him because he's not moving around. We can't really monitor him well. And he'd be better off," literally, this is what the doctor said, "he'd be better off in our nursery than yours." So now I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to have a baby January and he needs to cook a couple more months. So now I'm getting nervous, I'm anxious. My mom comes, I deliver him naturally. They induce labor. I deliver him naturally and I never see him. They just sweep him away. There's a team of doctors around him. He was born at 2 pounds, 14 and a half ounces, but he was 21 inches long. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a picture of my baby. I know it's kind of hard to see, but that's him in the incubator. But I just want to share that sometimes youth can make you oblivious in a good way. But for us, thankfully, even though he was so small and tiny, for the most part, he was perfectly normal. He didn't have any severe complications. The main complication he had was with swallowing and getting the food down. He was in the hospital for 1 month. And after that, he came home, no real medical problems to speak of. He's had, tubes in his ears, really bad ear infections. He got chickenpox, normal kid stuff, but no complications, thank God, due to his birth. But it was a scary time for a little while. Thanks for letting me share my story.
Thank you, Donna. Demetria?
Hello, everyone. My name is Demetria. Thank you for allowing me to be on your panel. I too had a premature delivery at 36 weeks. My delivery date was supposed to be April 28th, and April 28th of 2014, and I delivered on April 8th. Well, April 28th, 2014. I delivered on April 8th, 2014. I was 36 years old with my first pregnancy. About 6 years before I got pregnant, I had to have a procedure called a myomectomy, which is a surgery that you have to remove your uterine fibroids. And at that time, I was told that with future pregnancies that I would have to have a C-section delivery because of the type of surgery that I had. When I got pregnant, as a labor and delivery nurse, I made sure that I did everything right. I made sure I took my vitamins. I made sure that I went to my doctor's appointments. I made sure that I kept my weight appropriate. I made sure that my child had a healthy environment inside and outside. I went to my doctor's appointments 2 times a month. One doctor was a maternal fetal medicine doctor, and he was responsible for looking at the growth of my baby and the placenta. The other doctor was my regular OB doctor, and I just went for regular checkups with that doctor until delivery. I continued to work until I delivered. The day I delivered, I started having contractions. I went to the hospital to be evaluated, and they wanted to observe me overnight to see if I continued to contract. And I did. And so the next morning, my physician and the maternal fetal medicine doctor, they decided that I needed to have a C-section that day. Everything was fine. I delivered my baby. He was healthy, 6 pounds, 12 ounces. He seemed to be okay. I was happy that, I knew I was a little bit 3.5 weeks early to deliver. So I was happy to hear him crying and transitioning well. After surgery, I was transferred to my room. And that's when I was informed by the neonatologist that they had to intubate him because he had respiratory distress. And I remember feeling sad and guilty because I knew that I did everything that I was supposed to do. And I was thinking maybe I shouldn't have worked that day, or maybe I should have advocated for my child and pled with the doctors to, let me stay pregnant a little while longer so I can have more time to deliver. But the neonatologist explained to me that some babies at 36 weeks, they transition well, and some need assistance with breathing, and mine was one of those babies that needed assistance. He was intubated for about 12 hours, and over a couple of days, he transitioned to oxygen with the nasal cannula. And after 4 days, I was discharged from the hospital. I too couldn't go home with my baby. He wasn't able to take his first photos in the hospital. He wasn't able to have his circumcision. I had to do that after he came home. But thankfully, he came home after 10 days and he didn't have any residual effects from his prematurity. And he's now a thriving, smart 6-year-old kid.
Thank you, Demetria. I will now turn it back over to Sharon.
can see that,
I'm sorry, Miss Neely, your volume is doing something weird right now.
I'm sorry, can you
So
hear me?
there you go.
All right, thank you, thank you. Again, I would just like to thank all of our panelists for sharing your birthing experience with us today. We're honored that you have chosen to share with us on this important topic of premature and preterm birth. We would also at this time just like to state that based upon our panelists' um, remarks, we see that there can be numerous triggers that can lead to a preterm delivery. And so there's not just a one event that can lead to this. And so I would like to just share a few at this time, and then we will turn it back to Ms. Payne, who will lead us into our question and answer period. So again, if you have any questions, please place those in the comment section of Facebook, and we will definitely respond to you. And so some of the triggers that have been identified would be maternal age is one. Also, if you are obese, if you smoke, alcohol use, drug use can also be hypertension, diabetes, or any other underlying health concerns can also be a trigger. So it's very important that you seek and receive prenatal care early and continue throughout your pregnancy. Although, of course, that is not a guarantee. However, you and your provider working closely can definitely keep a better eye and watch on you and baby. And so at this time, I will return to Ms. Payne, who will open up our questions.
Hello again, everyone. I have a question for our panelists. What health challenges did you have with your baby?
I can go first.
Okay.
Um, my initial challenge was, like Demetria said, I had to have a myomectomy. I had to have a hysteroscopy. I had to have a laparoscopy. My ovaries were not hanging as they should. So my physician had to go in and unclip things and make them hang as they should, so that I could conceive, and conception would be just a little bit easier. And then I think my age did play a part in it, because I was 36 when I did finally conceive. So my age and then stress at work had my hypertension a lot of elevated.
Next.
Well, one thing that I actually didn't mention, which led to me having both of my children preterm, is I actually have a bicornuate uterus. So it's a heart-shaped uterus, which means that the baby can only grow a certain size. So I'm very thankful that I was able to get pregnant, maintain that pregnancy, and the baby was able to get to a certain size that the doctors were able to help assist it in the NICU, basically. So with that, with having the bicornuate uterus, it just places limitations. Basically, I couldn't hold twins in there. I mean, there's no way, I can't. Just naturally, my body can't do that. Another thing that I had to do with both of my pregnancies was I actually had to take progesterone because I have low progesterone. So that was another issue that, to try to maintain the pregnancy, because after a certain amount of time, your body naturally produces progesterone. But those first couple of months, I think it was 3 months, I had to take progesterone. So there was a lot of challenges to try to, keep those pregnancies going.
Thank you.
What I
Next.
think is so interesting about this is that we all have very different stories. I was 21, young, very unaware of how to maintain my health. I was otherwise healthy. This was my very first pregnancy. I didn't anticipate anything unusual or strange to happen. I didn't anticipate, and I never expected an early pregnancy to be a part of our journey. And the surprising thing, I again was young, healthy, no hypertension, no diabetes, no obesity, none of the triggers that you would expect or try to predict for a premature birth. But what I will say is that I had personal circumstances that were weighing heavily on me. So the stress and the mental strain, the depression, the anxiety about that is really what I believe contributed to my circumstances. I didn't really eat the best, but I didn't change dramatically. I had cravings and things like that, which I thought were normal. Probably a little bit too much spicy chicken because my son puts hot sauce. He puts hot sauce on everything now. So that may have contributed, but I was otherwise healthy, no underlying conditions. And yet this still happened for us. And so my son right now, again, he very, very healthy. He's 28 years old now. He is fine. He's never had anything other than the normal childhood diseases. He had chicken pox and he had tubes put in his ears. So, but for the most part, he did have to go on oxygen when he was in the hospital before he came home. But otherwise, a little bit of a setback with his digestion and swallowing. But when they resolved that, he was able to come home. So I do find it very interesting. You just have to be careful and watch everything you do. Don't overlook any aspect of how you are managing your life while you are pregnant. Don't take anything for granted. That's the biggest lesson I feel like I learned with my first pregnancy with my son, because I didn't believe the doctor, didn't trust my body, just thought I was fine and trucking along. So I would encourage anyone just to make sure that you pay attention to the details. Whatever advice the doctors give you, take it, try it. If it doesn't work for your body, keep the consultations coming and follow the advice.
Okay, next.
I didn't have, I guess mine is similar to Andrea. My age, being an African American, being 36 years old, history of a myomectomy. I think those were all just predisposing factors to me having a preterm delivery.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll turn it over to Sharon to see if we have any Facebook questions.
Thank you, Joan. We do have several questions, and then I will only answer one, and we can go back and forth if we like. The first question is there any evidence that premature childbirth is more indicative to women aged 30 plus versus pregnant teens? And I will state that based upon the Martyrdim's prematurity report, they have stated that the highest preterm birth rates occur to women that are over 40 at 16.6%. That is followed by the age group of 30 to 39 at 11.3% rate. And then ladies under 20, the rate is about 10.1% of those that age group. And then between 20 to 29, it's indicative of 20 to of 9.8%. So there is a little variance there between the ages of the age groups. However, the risk between the it's a slight difference with the younger, the teens. So their risk is a little lower than those that are a little more mature in age. However, it does occur. And I will answer one more and then I will switch it back to Ms. Payne. The next question is for anyone on the panel. For someone wanting to help you after the birth of your babies, what type of assistance from your village did you most find helpful? If anyone would like to answer that question.
I'll start. I had a premature baby. And so my very first baby, and none of my family members wanted to hold him. He was just too small. I mean, his head fit in the palm of my hand, and they thought they were going to break him. They didn't want to touch him, thought, you know, the slightest little move or anything. And I'm like, you can hold him with one hand. I mean, come on, guys. So my village was very supportive of me, but did not want to touch him. Any support that your village is willing to give you, accept it. Whether that's cooking meals or warming bottles or helping you with the bath or whatever it is, accept all the help the village will give you. It's just, I've had 3 children now, so there is no help that will go unnoticed. And so accept all the help that you're willing to handle, treat any other baby, you know, in that regard. And then especially help with the doctor's appointments. That was the biggest thing for me, because my son was born in Chicago in the middle of the winter. And so I was scared to drive, didn't want to, you know, get stuck in this, didn't want to be alone, stuck in the snow with a premature baby. So it was important for us to have, be safe traveling to and from our doctor's appointment. So that was the biggest help that I needed.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sora Green. Would anyone else like to respond to that question?
I actually reached out to my best friend, I would say almost on a daily basis. She was always there with all kinds of advice, even to this day. But I felt like having somebody to talk to, and just her being a parent of 2 older girls, but just sharing that advice helped me, because I don't have a mother. My mother's not living. So I really didn't have a big, you know, grandmother, mother, aunts. I really didn't have that. My village consisted of my friends and my mother-in-law, but she lives in New Orleans. So she's, you know, not available, like she's not down the street. So just reaching out, you know, whether it's, if you're having a rough time, you know, just voicing any, I guess, concerns, and just having somebody to listen to is very important to me. Rather than, you know, holding any frustrations to yourself, it's just great to just put it out there and help, you know, to help that change things into a positive mindset, get those frustrations out.
I would like to say my village consisted of my mom. Without my mom's support, I don't know where I would be, because, you know, I take care of patients, I take care of babies, but I leave them there. So when I had my baby, I was like, okay, I have to come home with this baby. How do I take care of it? So my mom was very helpful and supportive, helping me with my kids, and she still helps me take care of them.
Thank you so much. Joan?
Okay, next question. What resources, if any, were available for you as a new mom of a preemie?
I had the lactose nurse who let me know that for preemies, it's best for them to have breast milk. So my lactose nurse came in and she tried to show me she tried to show me how to basically milk myself so that I can get just a little bit. Just and I wasn't lactating a lot. So she said whatever you can get out of the out of your breast and into that little bit of bottle, I will give it to we will give it to the baby, even because he wasn't really sucking out of a bottle yet. They would feed him through a syringe.
Dropper. Mhm.
So they took whatever I could get out of my breast and put it in the syringe. And then she later came when I was never able to bring my baby to the room to show how to latch on. So I had to teach myself, or my mom had to teach me how to get my baby to latch on. But that's a different story. That's a different topic.
Anyone else? Okay. Next question. Was there any factors that put you at a higher risk to have a premature delivery?
Mine was my age and my job. My job where I worked at the time, it was very stressful because I was new to management and trying to juggle being pregnant and being a manager, a new pregnancy and being a manager. I didn't know how to do that. My blood pressure would just spike while I was at work. And then of course my age and at the time before I got pregnant, I was a little on the heavy side, but I had lost so much weight by the time I got pregnant. By the time I got pregnant, I thought that I was like, hey, I'm down to an ideal size and these clothes are big. I'm beautiful, you know. And then all of a sudden she says, you're pregnant. I'm like, what? I'm losing my girly figure now. So I had lost all that weight so that I could possibly get pregnant. And as soon as I lost the weight is when I got pregnant. So losing weight, but my age was definitely a factor. And my job, the stress of my job was definitely a factor for me.
Okay, anyone else like to comment?
I think just for me, the stress of my circumstances. I didn't have. I lived at home with my mom. I didn't have to work. I didn't have those. I didn't have, again, no pre-existing conditions. My very first pregnancy. I'm 21 years old. But I think the stress of my circumstances and my mental state, the anxiety, is what contributed to our journey with prematurity.
I'll turn it back over to Ms. Neely for further questions.
Thank you so much. We did receive a few more questions from Facebook. And so the next one it states, back in the day, we would start working a month before our due date. Do you think women should start working sooner instead of working close to the due date to ensure their baby is not born too early? Do you feel that that may be a contributing factor for anyone?
I will say, in my experience, with the birth of all three of my children, I didn't have to work leading up to their births. And I think it made a world of difference because, as Indy said, the stress of being manager and the stress of trying to carry a healthy baby, you're just too divided. And that baby needs 100% of your attention during that time. It's crucial. It's absolutely crucial to the health and development of that baby. I'm not a modern girl at all, but I have traditional values. But even with that, I still believe that that baby is the most important thing that's happening, and you need to concentrate on your eating, your prenatal vitamins, your health, and how you take care of yourself mentally. You got to get that baby's room set up. You got to get all the things that you need, make sure you're prepared because after the birth of the baby, you don't know what condition you'll be in to take care of those things. So preparation is key, I believe. Again, that village is key. And so working, it depends on your circumstances, but as Indy said, you know, when you have a stressful job, you can't be divided with the care of that baby. That baby doesn't know anything about that. So I do think it contributes to the circumstances. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Sora Green.
Mhm.
Another question that we have in regards to learning delays or development, do you have you all experienced any developmental delays or development with learning with your children? We do know in some instances there are some of those concerns with babies who are born prematurely, according to the March Dimes research. But just in regards to a personal experience, has any of your children experienced any learning developmental issues?
None for me.
Not
Excellent.
any for mine.
None for me.
I feel like at this point, my eldest is in first grade. He's the one that was born at 32 weeks. So I feel like it's too soon to tell. I mean, there may be some in the future, and I'll be more than happy to help him, you know, wherever he needs help. I mean, I can see a little bit of problems focusing, but I don't know if it's due to prematurity or just him being, you know, a boy and being so active. So it's hard to tell.
That's likely it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have one additional question, and then if before we wrap up, if anyone else has any questions, please place those in the Facebook comment section, and we will definitely get to those. So the last question that I have is, what do you think is the most important thing to do when pregnant in general to help you deal with the changes of being pregnant?
Self-care, self-care, self-care. Um, I can't stress it enough. It is important to focus. If you're going to be selfish at any time in your life, it's when you're pregnant. You have to take care of yourself mentally, physically, of course. You need to eat right, focus on everything that you're putting into your body for the sake of that baby. Take care of your mental health and just surround yourself with positivity. That baby is aware of everything that's going on with you and around you. With my daughter, my second child, my husband was a humongous fan of CSI Miami. And so the theme song was a song by The Who. And so every time the show came on, he sang it to my belly. And so when Madison was born, we'd play the song and she'd turn around and say, she didn't know how she knew it, but she recognized the song. So that was just a reminder to us that the babies, even in your belly, they are aware of every single thing that you are going through. They can hear, they can, you know, feel your stress. So my encouragement to first-time mothers or repeat mothers, take care of yourself first. It's crucial for you and the baby. Mothers are still dying in childbirth. Babies are still dying. There's nothing you can do. There's not too much you can do to take care of yourself. It's all worth it for the birth of a healthy baby.
Thank you, Sora Green. Did
Yes,
anyone
ma'am.
else have any comments that they would like to share in regards to that question? What should you do while you're pregnant in general to deal with the changes of being pregnant? Do you have anything else that you would like to add? Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions at this time. And so I would like to welcome you to please go to the marchofdimes.org's website for any further information. You can also visit the Lambda Zeta chapter's website because we have a information regarding our Stork's Nest program, which does provide parenting education to mothers. And so we will have that information available to you. Also, in support of the March of Dimes goals for researching legislation and policy, we do have a site, a page available for donations, again, to support those endeavors. And so are Payne. We'll have that link available also on our site for you. And now I would love to um, turn it over to our wonderful chapter president, Dr. Denise Wolf Hilliard, who will share some closing remarks.
Thank you so much, the Facebook viewers and the panelists, especially Ms. Delgadillo, Ms. Castillo, Ms. Green, Ms. Preston, for sharing your warm stories. So many of us take this for granted, the act of having a healthy baby. As Ms. Green said, she anticipated no problems, nothing, and was just shocked that she had a problem, that a problem had occurred in her pregnancy. It is vital that we take good care of ourselves, as you all have said, while we're carrying those babies, because we all expect to have a healthy pregnancy that culminates in a full-term baby. That's what we expect. And Zeta Phi Beta sorority, particularly Lambda Zeta chapter as well, has had almost a 50-year partnership with the March of Dimes. Our goals are the same. We want women to have healthy babies, and we want every baby to have a healthy start. That's just a guarantee. It should be. And it's imperative on us as a community and as a group of women to take care of ourselves. One of the things that I've learned by being associated with women is that we are the ones who have to take care of one another. We really are. And sharing your stories is an integral part of how we take care of one another. You're helping us and others understand the importance of, as Donna said, eating right, having a mindset for this, being selfish, because that's not our first sense that we need to be selfish at that time. You mentioned someone as young as 21 and as experienced as 36 getting pregnant, and all of the concerns and the challenges that you faced physically, emotionally. You talked about the stress in your lives. Being a woman in color in this country is stressful. And you add a pregnancy to that and you have more stress. And we have to be aware of it. There's nothing we may be able to change, but awareness is part of dealing with the challenge of the stress. So I am delighted that you took some time out of your day to share your very personal experiences with having a premature baby. And I wanted to say that two of you are members of my chapter, and I wasn't even aware that you had a premature baby. So I'm delighted that you shared that experience with us. Thank you very much. Thank you for going live on Facebook with your stories. And thank you, Sharon Neely and Joan Payne, for orchestrating this phenomenal event and allowing the rest of Facebook family to see what it takes to be the mother of a premature baby and all of the challenges that you face. You're very strong and brave women, and I appreciate your candor and your sharing your experiences with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wolf Hilliard. And Joan, did you have any closing remarks that you would like to make at this time as well?
I would just like to say thank you so much to our panelists for giving up their Sunday afternoon to share their stories. I truly, truly thank you. And I know what you have said has made an impact on some mother to be or some mother that's out there struggling now. I can't thank you enough for agreeing to be a part of our group. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you, panelists. Thank you to our tech team, and thank you, Sora Payne, for your work and coordinating all of this for us. And thank you to our audience for joining us on this recognition of prematurity Awareness Day. And we wish you all a great evening. Thank you.
Okay, I have stopped the live. We are done. Great job, ladies. Great job, everyone.
Thank you.
Great
Yes.
job. Great
Great
job.
job.
Great job.
Thank you.
It was fun. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.